All right, this is the Senate's Institutions Committee. We are back live on the air today, still being April 20th, 2021, and we are discussing potential amended language to the Capitol bill. Michael O'Grady from Legislative Council has joined us to talk about a piece of language that I understand the Senate Natural Resources and Energy Committee has discussed. I don't believe they have voted on it yet, but I anticipate they will be tomorrow morning, at which point the chair of that committee will be coming to join us to talk about why they did what they did. But I'm trying to get a leg up on that conversation so that we have some chance of getting the Capitol bill out tomorrow afternoon. So Michael, as I understand it, you have the latest version of what that language might be, and you're also going to clarify what it all means for us.
Okay.
Take it away. Welcome.
So do you want me to post it on the share screen?
I think it would be very good to have it share screened.
Okay. So I'm going to talk generally while I share the screen. And I need to be made a co-host.
Assuming Denise heard you.
It doesn't look like it. Well, let's talk.
There you go, Michael.
There we go. Okay. So as we discussed last time, the waters and the lands underneath the waters of the state are held in trust for the people of the state. And the General Assembly is the entity that holds those lands and waters for the public benefit. But the General Assembly can delegate that responsibility to an entity, a state agency or municipality. And they have done that in Title 29, Chapter 11. It's a public property chapter. They've delegated the management of lakes and ponds to the Agency of Natural Resources and specifically the Department of Environmental Conservation. And any encroachment on those waters needs a permit from ANR, and an encroachment means to place or cause to be placed any material or structure in any lakes and ponds that are public, or to cause to be altered the lands underlying any waters, or to place or cause to be placed any bridge, dock, boathouse, cable, pipeline, or similar structure beyond the shoreline. So ANR has been permitting these encroachments, and they have been doing so under a broad statutory provision that says they have to issue the permit when it's in the public good. And there's a statute, 29 VSA 405, that says something is in the public good when you look at the cumulative effect of the encroachment on water quality, fish and wildlife, habitat, aquatic and shoreline vegetation, navigation, and other recreational and public uses. But there isn't a rule that fleshes what that means and how to determine what is the public good and how to address specific encroachments, like things like sinking a vessel to create an artificial reef. The agency does have an interim procedure for the issuance of encroachment permits. It's 32 years old. It's from 1989. It does speak to some of these issues, but it doesn't speak to all of them. And so what the Committee on Natural Resources and some of the advocates are looking for is a directive to DEC to adopt rules on the encroachments on public waters. So I was asked to do this on Thursday afternoon. I looked at states around the country that have this type of regulatory structure. I focused on Idaho and Louisiana, and both of which, because Idaho has a very extensive encroachment rule, and Louisiana has its own specific inland reefing permit program, specifically for Lake Pontchartrain. So this is what I came up at the direction of the Senate Natural Resources Committee. The Department of Environmental Conservation shall adopt rules. They will address criteria for what adversely affects the public good, including what constitutes an approved public use of the waters and lands of lakes and ponds under the jurisdiction of the department. Provided that the criteria shall be designed to enhance and conserve fishery resources, facilitate access and utilization by recreational and commercial user groups, minimize conflicts among competing uses of waters, minimize environmental risk and risk to personal and public health and property, and not create any unreasonable obstructions to navigation. They'll also come up with criteria for the creation of artificial reefs or sinking of vessels, including a requirement that creation of any reef or sunken vessel complies with the federal rules or guidance for such activities. Criteria for private docks, commercial marinas, breakwaters, and private flood control walls or projects, and criteria for transmissions lines, suction lines, and other similar encroachments. So basically, to create a regulatory program that gives both the department and the regulated community some certainty about how it is to be done. And then there is a section 2, on or before January 1, 2022, ANR shall initiate the rulemaking, and on or before July 1, 2022, they shall file a final proposal of the rules. So they get 6 months, but they probably could do it faster because they would be able to initiate rulemaking before January 1, 2022. And then those sections would go into effect on passage. Now, one of the things I wanted to clarify is that this is not a historic preservation program. The authority to regulate the waters and lands and the uses of them, the encroachments on them, that's a DEC program. The Division of Historic Preservation doesn't have any authority over authorizing the use of lakes and ponds or the lands underneath them. What they have authority over is the management of historic underwater preserves, I should say. And but you need an encroachment permit first if you are going to create one of those. So I think you want the regulatory responsibility for how to create a reasonable program that's reliable by regulated entities and represents protection of the public trust resource. You need DEC to do it underneath the current law.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
Should I stop sharing?
Yeah, that's fine. Committee, any comments or questions, thoughts, whatever? Michael, assuming Natural Resources says they're good to go with this, do you see any issues about our committee taking the jurisdiction of this question and plugging it into the capital bill?
I don't. I mean, it seems a little odd when you look at it superficially, but this section, this chapter is in Title 29. It's in the public property title because they are public trust resources and they are supposed to be managed for the public. And generally, the institutions and corrections committees are the ones that deal with those public property questions. So I agree it looks strange, but when you bear down on it, it really is an appropriate exercise for inclusion in the capital bill.
Okay.
It's appropriate now, Michael, even though that sinking of the vessel doesn't affect the capital bill, the current capital bill, under the laws that are already in place.
So this does not apply to the sinking of the Adirondack Ferry. This is going to be prospective in application. It won't be retroactive. They already have their permit. Whether or not that permit gets implemented, that's another question. You know, a permittee can decide not to follow through on a permit. So that's that. I don't know if it will ever come through, but this legislation doesn't affect that.
Right, and so to get clarification on this legislation, should it even affect this capital bill at all? Should it even make a difference to whether we even are interested in the, not to be disrespectful in any way, but does this have any interest to us at all? I mean, at this point in time, or it would be future capital bills moving forward that would have a request to sink a ship?
Well, you know, whether or not you want to include it in your bill, that's your decision, policy decision. I was basically trying to answer Senator Benning's question, I believe, of whether or not it was germane.
Yeah.
And I do think there's a very good argument that it's germane. Whether or not you include it or not, I have no opinion.
Okay.
Senator McCormick.
Thanks. I think that line has already been crossed in that the bill as it came from the House deals with the sinking of the Adirondack, and this committee's recommended amendment will strike that provision. So the question of the sinking of vessels in Lake Champlain is really already in the bill. If not, I mean, in our case, the amendment is to take it out, but at least it's in that discussion now. And what Natural Resources is suggesting is that if we're going to take that prohibition out, and I've yielded the point that we should, if we're going to do that, then we do have to address the fact that nevertheless that we have a potential possible problem, in some people's view, a problem, and that ought to be dealt with, if not this way, then some other way.
Yeah, I tend to look at this as flowing from this conversation that we had with the witnesses, recognizing that there wasn't any rules in existence and that we have jurisdiction over the lake bottom. It made sense to me that there be rules developed to make sure that in any future proposed sinking, that there were very clear guidelines on how that would come to be. We obviously don't want to have people just dropping boats in the water and thinking it's okay. But I kind of see this as it's one of those components necessary to smooth some ruffled feathers, if you will, because the House committee had some pretty strong opinions on the Adirondack being sunk. And I think they're backing off of that, but it would be very helpful to give them some feeling like they accomplished something in the conversation. And I think this actually does just that. So I'm personally thinking this is a smart idea. I don't know if anybody else has any objection about doing it in the capital bill, but I'm all ears.
Can we do it in the capital bill? It's all right. Is that?
Yeah, I think with the Adirondack language being in there when it arrived on our doorstep and we're removing it, plugging this in order to shore up what might be a problem on a future sinking. I don't know that there's anybody in the body that's going to say this is not germane to our bill. But if they do, we'll make the case for it and see how far it flies. That would be my preference. Any other questions or comments from Michael? Becky had said she could return at 2:45, but I don't see her yet. Michael, can I assume you and Becky are in touch with each other in the event that we want to plug this in as an amendment, that can be coordinated with Becky?
Becky already told me that she has prepared the amendment for inclusion in the capital bill.
Okay. And do you know if anybody has contacted Julie Moore with this language to see what her reaction was?
I am unaware of that.
All right. Well, I guess I'll send her a note and see what happens. Anything else you can tell us, Michael?
have a good day.
Appreciate you coming by again.
Okay. All right.
Thanks.
Talk to you soon.
Committee, I don't see any real reason to hang around waiting for Becky to show up. It occurs to me that she's poised to get this language in. Tomorrow afternoon, we're going to have some other proposed language changes on section 26 coming from the administration. But other than that, we can probably get what we need to and then have a vote, but I just don't know what time tomorrow afternoon that'll be. The plan is to bring in the administration to talk about that change. Bring in Laura Treishman, Art Cohn, and Jonathan Eddy, just to let them know that we've preserved their sinking. And then the walleye guys to give them a pat on the back for some hard work and let them know they got money coming where they didn't have before. Denise, are you just reaching for the sky or do you have a question?
No, I have a couple of questions, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
So the proposed language for the encroachment rules has been taken care of. I mean, because we have it for 1:30 for Senator Bray and Michael Grady.
Well, I'd like to have Senator Bray come in tomorrow to talk to us.
Okay,
Michael doesn't need to come back, but Senator Bray should have an invite to just come in and let me know what his committee decided to do. Dick
Okay.
McCormick, you didn't vote on that today, did you? Dick McCormick? You're muted, Dick.
No, that's why I was shaking my head. No, we did not.
Okay. And do you understand you're going to meet and talk about it tomorrow morning?
Yes, that's my understanding.
okay.
Okay. So we
The chair is
get
looking
that.
for a vote tomorrow.
Good. We'll then get him in the afternoon and let that get done. What else you got, Denise?
Julie Moore.
Yeah.
I sent her the document you had sent me, so I think she has it. But she is sending, oh, what the heck is his name? He's coming in tomorrow. I have it
Okay.
here. A gentleman is coming in tomorrow by the name of Commissioner Walk of DEC is coming in tomorrow at 1:30.
Okay.
And this is in Julie's stead.
That's good. All right. Anything else we got to deal with?
That's
Still trying to save the bee, Joe. I can't catch him yet.
Okay.
it. Let him go when you catch him.
Well, I know, I want to put him outside. That's what I'm trying-
Yes.
Would you like,
For supper?
would you like us to leave your office on YouTube in case there's a funny scene coming up?
Uh,
Was you ever bit by a dead bee?
Oh, he's a big one too. He must weigh a pound.
If not, I don't know that there's anything else for us to talk about this afternoon. Sorry it took so long to have that happen, but it's the way it goes sometimes. So
Are we
Denise, you
gonna-
can.
Are we gonna be at 1 tomorrow, you think, Chair?
Now 1:30.
No, 1:30. We are on the floor at 1 o'clock.
Oh, that's
And it-
right. Yep.
I have no idea how much time is going to be taken on the bills that we have on the floor. That's just one of those things we can't really identify too clearly. But plan on meeting at 1:30 on Wednesday and Friday, and then we'll be back at Wednesday and Thursday, 1:30, and then Friday at 1 o'clock.
Mhm.
Okay,
And hopefully we'll get the bill out tomorrow, though, and that'll be one major piece out of the way. Okay, guys, we can take us off YouTube if you would, Denise.
Yes. Do that. Oof.